What if I told you the biggest threat to American power isn't a nuclear bomb or a foreign army, but an app on your phone? The 21st century isn't being defined by missiles or tanks, but by algorithms, microchips, and digital wallets. And right now, we are watching a high-stakes confrontation that could reshape the global order as we know it, the US-China economic Cold War. This isn't just about tariffs or trade deficits, it's about who controls the future of capitalism, digital infrastructure, and financial sovereignty. So let's unpack the deeper layers behind the headlines, the forces driving this economic war, and why its outcome could determine which superpower sets the rules for the global economy in the decades to come. The roots of today's tensions stretch back to the Trump administration. Tariffs on Chinese imports, sanctions on tech firms like Huawei and ZTE, and export bans on advanced microchips marked a radical shift in US policy. This wasn't simply a trade disagreement, it was a declaration of economic war. And when Joe Biden came to power, many expected a reset. Instead, he doubled down. His administration expanded export restrictions, tightened control over semiconductor supply chains, and rallied allies to isolate China's tech sector. This bipartisan consensus reflects something deeper, a growing fear that the US may be losing its economic edge to a rising China. If you find this analysis valuable, hit that like button and share it with someone who wants to understand what's really driving the global economy today. It helps a lot in getting the word out. Mainstream narratives often point to Taiwan or concerns about espionage as key reasons for the United States' aggressive stance. But let's be honest, Taiwan has been a flashpoint since 1949, and both China and the US have engaged in extensive surveillance for decades. The real issue isn't about islands or spy balloons. It's about cloud capital, a term that captures the fusion of digital platforms, data, AI, and finance. Whoever controls cloud capital controls not just markets, but minds. In China, apps like WeChat go far beyond what anything in the West currently offers. It's not just a messaging platform, it's a complete ecosystem. People use it to pay rent, hail a cab, book a doctor, shop online, and send money instantly, seamlessly, and for free. Compare that to the US, where financial technology remains fragmented, bloated with fees, and heavily bank dependent. In this arena, China has already built what the US is only now dreaming of. This is where the real threat lies from Washington's perspective. If China can export this digital model globally, it could undermine the financial foundation of US power, the dollar. For decades, the US dollar has been the bedrock of global trade. Countries sell goods to the US, earn dollars, and reinvest them in US debt and assets. This cycle has allowed the US to run massive deficits and still maintain power. But what happens when the rest of the world starts using China's digital yuan? What happens when trade flows begin shifting to platforms that bypass the dollar entirely? This is no longer theoretical. After the US froze Russia's dollar reserves during the Ukraine war, global elite took notice. If it could happen to Russia, it could happen to anyone. And now, many nations from Saudi Arabia to Brazil are exploring digital alternatives. What's your take on this shift? Do you think China's digital currency could realistically challenge the dollar in the next decade? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's start a conversation. While the headlines focus on economics, the map tells another story. The US has built a military archipelago across the Indo-Pacific surrounding China with bases and strategic allies, from Japan and South Korea to Philippines and Guam. The US has created a containment ring designed to control sea lanes and project power. But despite its global ambitions, China hasn't matched this militarization. It has no bases in the Western Hemisphere, and its military posture remains largely defensive. Its strategy is commercial, not territorial. Once a central player in global affairs, Europe now finds itself increasingly sidelined. The industrialization myth, tech revolutions, and dependency on US-led policy have left nations like Germany and France mere spectators in this great power rivalry. Even when it hurts them economically, like abandoning Iran deals under US pressure, Europe often complies. The continent that once carved up the globe now struggles to assert strategic autonomy in its own backyard. Much of the US foreign policy establishment operates independently of electoral cycles. From neoconservatives in the Bush era to liberal hawks under Obama and Biden, the strategy remains the same: preserve US dominance by any means necessary. Figures like Victoria Nuland, who served in multiple administrations, reveal the continuity of this so-called deep state. The names and party labels may change, but the strategic imperatives do not. Back in 1970s, when America shifted from a surplus to a deficit economy, thinkers like Henry Kissinger flipped the narrative. Instead of seeing trade deficits as a liability, they saw them as a geopolitical tool. Why? Because deficits mean foreign nations had to earn and hold dollars. And as long as the US controlled the global financial plumbing, it could weaponize the system at will, imposing sanctions, freezing assets, and steering investment. But now, with digital currencies and decentralized finance on the horizon, that monopoly is under threat. In the US, Silicon Valley and Wall Street operate independently, but often in competition. But in China, tech and finance operate under a single command structure. This integration has allowed China to build a cohesive digital economy that can scale internationally. And that's the real contest. Not just who grows faster, but who builds the infrastructure that others rely on. The migration to China's digital superhighway is already underway. If it continues, the US will no longer be the default destination for capital, innovation, or influence. This isn't just an economic rivalry. It's a battle over who defines the rules of the 21st century. If the US succeeds in containing China, it might preserve its global financial empire. But if China continues to build digital alternatives and export them globally, we could be looking at the end of US-led globalization. The world is entering a new era, one where nations must choose between systems, currencies, and alliances. And in this era, economic wars may prove even more destructive than military ones. The US-China tariff war is just the surface layer of something far deeper, a tectonic shift in the global balance of power. What we are seeing is the unraveling of an old system and the birth of a new one. Cloud capital, digital finance, and global platforms are becoming the real levers of power, and whoever controls these levers will define the shape of the global economy for generations. Understanding this transformation isn't just for economists or policymakers. It's essential for anyone trying to make sense of the world today, because this new Cold War will touch every corner of our lives, from how we trade and communicate to how we save, invest, and connect. And as always, the more you know, the better prepared you are. If you stayed with me this far, thank you. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Your support keeps this content independent and thriving.